Hi guys, thanks for joining me today at Hearn Family Homestead. I'm Amanda, and today I want to talk a little bit about Back to Eden gardening and give you an update on how our garden's looking. So basically, if you don't already know what Back to Eden gardening is it's laying down a barrier, which we did 2 years ago. We laid down cardboard, and then it's laying down some compost and some mulch on top of that. And so I thought I'd just tell you the pros and cons that I've noticed so far in our garden. The reason I went with this method is twofold. One, we have a really windy area, so I wanted something that would keep the moisture in the soil. And then the second reason was this whole area was very hard, compact, with a lot of clay, so I wanted to really build that soil back up. And I've already noticed more earthworms in the garden, and they're just loving it. They're going to town. And it really does keep the soil from drying out. I'm able to water a lot less than I did the first year when I didn't have the wood chip mulch on the top. So some of the disadvantages that I've noticed is we do have a lot more slugs, and we've had to combat that with beer traps and boards laid down on the ground that we then pick the slugs off of. And it seems to be working, so I'm hopeful that we can get that under control. Another thing that I've noticed is the seedlings that I put out and the seeds that I've planted, when they come up, I've had problems with the wood chip mulch falling in on top of them, and I've had to kind of pull the mulch back off of them repeatedly after I water. And so I think that I could fix that by not putting 6 inches of mulch, but just putting 4. More is not always better, so I think I'll probably go through and just pull off some of the chips as I'm planting and tending the garden. I'll just pull off a layer and put it in the paths. And that should help it not fall in on top of the seedlings after I plant. Another thing was I bought hot compost. I didn't know it. It was labeled organic, and so I thought it was going to be great, and I got it back and it's been burning my plants. So definitely check your compost, make sure that it's not hot and that it will work for your garden before you purchase it. So this is our Napa Cabbage, which has some slug damage but not too much. We've got a volunteer sunflower and a slug trap that needs to be cleaned out and refilled. And then over here we've got little bitty corn just starting. And it didn't come up as well as I would like. We planted it right before the big storm system moved through, so it got pretty wet. In the back row there's some carrots that we planted. I'll probably be replanting those as well. And some turnips that are doing awesome. And then this front row is beets. And they look like they're doing pretty good too. We planted radishes with them, and then we've since harvested the radishes. And there's another happy volunteer sunflower. I'll just let them go. If they want to grow, I'll let them. These are our zinnias. They're coming up. I do need to protect them from the slugs a little bit. And I think what I'll do for these zinnias is spread some wood ash, and then when I get more diatomaceous earth, I'll spread that as well. Pretty little nasturtiums coming up. And then we have our tomato row. I have one more tomato to plant, another variety that I want to plant, so I'll show you guys how I planted those. And these are some bush beans that a friend gave me, and a few of them came up. But like I said, that compost was just too hot. I think it burned most of them. We've got some dill just starting to peek out in this area. And we have a row of matcha and some kale. Another row of kale. And this is Swiss chard with another sunflower. Our lettuce is doing great. This variegated one is a new variety that I got from Baker Creek. And I really love the coloring on that. It's so pretty. And some leftover peas. There's a weed. The peas on this side just aren't doing well. So I was originally going to plant beans here, and I changed my mind and planted the tomatoes when I didn't think these came up. But now they are, so we'll just work around them. My poor peas, you guys. With that heat wave we just went through, it got up to about 98 in the shade, and my peas just looking a little crispy on the tips, but they're starting to bloom, so I'm glad about that. And these are the onions that I showed you a few weeks ago had died back to almost to the ground, and they're doing so nice now. So I'm really happy that they bounced back. We've got some more sunflowers. And these are our seed carrots that I left in the ground last year, so we'll be saving seeds from those soon. What I've done at the bottom of the peas is I've planted purple potted pole beans on both sides of this trellis. And then when the peas are spent, I'm hoping that the pole beans will be big enough to train onto the trellis. Our bunching onions need a little love. They're not doing as well as the others, but they're hanging in there. Swiss chard's looking beautiful. I'll be saving seeds from this. It's left over from last year. And then there's our little spinach bed. They're happy. And right next to the spinach we have what's left of our cauliflower. All of our cauliflower got eaten by slugs except this one. So I'll be spreading some more stuff around him today. There's our happy little tomatoes that I planted yesterday. I had to wait for the compost to cool down before I planted the tomatoes because I didn't want to burn them. And I actually planted a test tomato. I had extra, so I planted one a couple weeks ago and it seems to be surviving just fine. So I went ahead and planted the rest of it. So the first thing you'll want to do is pull back this mulch and dig down into the soil. And this is a taller tomato, so I'm going to dig a trench. And then I'll drop a couple handfuls of potting mix with compost in it. And then we'll put an egg down in the hole, crack it with your shovel, and then you're ready for your tomato. Now tomatoes will grow roots out of their stem, so everywhere that a leaf is coming out, it will grow roots, so we'll just cut those off. And then I'm going to, just to protect it from that hot compost, I'm going to put more potting mix over the stem and a root ball. And then I'll use some of this soil that's deeper than the compost was. And just give that all the protection that I can. And you can see most of the hot compost is in the upper layers, so I won't be putting that directly on the roots. And pull that mulch back over the top just so that it doesn't dry out. And then we'll water it real well to prevent the transplant shock. And this is a Roman candle tomato, which is a yellow Roma type. Alright, that's all there is to it. So that's it for today, guys. I hope you have a great day. Thanks for joining us at Hearn Family Homestead.